We obviously made that video the other day talking about Islam Makhachev and him being the upcoming prospect that he is, or even somewhat of an established prospect at this point. But what we didn't touch upon is some matchmaking for Islam Makhachev, which is probably one of the biggest topics in that 155 at the moment, which is impressive to do because it is a very bustling division. What do you reckon?
Well, you got to think with Makhachev, right? His like ability to sort of, I want to call it clout, right? His ability to like name recognition level is very high to very low for the name recognition. So there's probably not a queue of guys lining up to fight him, but there are 3, potentially 4 fights for him. So quick, then we'll kind of talk about those matchups. So you've got these are all the potential fights for Islam. So we've got Tony, Chandler, Oliveira, and Beneil Dariush. Those are 4 solid fights, and I'd love to get your thoughts on each one of those fights, and if you have any other options for him.
So obviously he's sitting at 11 at the moment, right? And you've got Dariush at 9.
Yeah.
Now, I love Dariush. I think
I love that fight as well.
But here's why I don't want that fight. Here's why I don't want it. Because I want Dariush Tony, which is why I want no Islam Dariush, because I just want to see an absolute war, which I think could be a potential fight of the year in Dariush Tony Ferguson if that goes to plan. So we've got Dariush at 9, and he's on a 6-fight win streak at the moment. And he's the type of person when you speak to him, not that I've had any personal chats with him, but in his press conferences, he'll fight whoever. I don't think it's a problem it being Islam. I think, like you sort of touched upon, I think the issue at the top of the division is it's a lose-lose fight in him at the moment. It is a lose-lose. He was just recently
facts.
He was just recently unranked, and now he's just outside the top 10 still. The last thing anyone in that top 5 is going to want to do is jeopardize their title shot by fighting arguably one of the best fighters in that division. From what we're sort of,
it's a hard night out. It's a hard night out.
So the last thing you're going to want to do is jeopardize that. So it's a sticky one.
You're a no. You're a no on the Dariush Makhachev. You're a no.
I'm a complete no on the Dariush.
Cool. I'd like to. this is the thing, right? There's no bad. If they do make it, you're not going to be like, oh, you just rather see
I'm
Tony
still watching.
Dariush. So I suppose the next one is Tony. Rules that out for you as well. But for me, I'd rather see that Khabib Tony contrast, although it's not Khabib. In my mind, it's Khabib.
Yeah.
I'd rather see that than Dariush Tony. So for me, I love that Tony Ferguson Makhachev fight. But obviously, you've got other ideas. Now we've got an interesting one. Oliveira. That is interesting because do you want to take Oliveira down and potentially get strangled? Like his last performance against Tony was pretty phenomenal, pretty Khabib-esque, if you will. What are your thoughts on that one?
So I had quite a long look earlier into Makhachev from people that have trained with him, people that have sparred with him, not Khabib. And from what they say, I don't think there's anyone he needs to worry about going to the floor with. Honestly, some of the feedback...
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
...is an absolute joke. I've heard that he's actually a much better wrestler than Khabib. He has better submissions than Khabib. Apparently, he has a lot... Obviously, I'm going off of their words, training with him and not not me. Better trips than Khabib. Yeah. And from what they said, he just seems to be a better fighter. So if he is as good as that, Oliveira should be the one a little bit concerned.
He's a lot more polished than Khabib, and his style is slightly different. He goes a lot more. Doesn't do a lot of ground and pound. It's a lot more submission, a lot more. He's better on the feet than Khabib for sure. And like we've said before, those comparisons are always going to be there. So he can mix it up on the feet as well. But then you could say the same thing about Oliveira. So I like that matchup as well.
Who just ragdolled Tony Ferguson, by the way. Ragdoll like Tony Ferguson.
That is it. Who does that apart from Oliveira? That's so impressive. They get slept on a lot.
That's so true, actually. I haven't spoke about that enough. I've seen enough of that.
Yeah, people are like, oh, Tony's over the hill because he lost to Gaethje, but like one fight where he got punched a lot, like that's so high level to be able to do that to Ferguson. Like it's actually ridiculous. But
The
Then we've
dominance
got
of it was scary.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Then we've got the fourth and final fight, which I personally think is the one that's most likely to happen. Chandler versus Makhachev, which is a good fight. Two grapplers typically, but history would dictate that two wrestlers that usually get solved on the feet. But I do think Makhachev will try and take him down. We've had this Twitter back and forth that we spoke about yesterday. What are your thoughts on that one?
You're actually missing out quite a sort of fan favorite matchup, which I've been seeing a lot
Who did I
about.
miss? Who did I miss?
Can you not guess? I was about to say it, and he said, so I was like, all right,
No, I don't know.
I'll give you my guess. RDA. So a lot of
Oh
people have
yeah,
matched. Yeah. So a lot of people have matched him up
See-
with RDA and want that fight.
Yeah.
And that, of what I've seen, is what the people. I know we've got different ideas, to be honest, from the people I've spoke to, but it seems that's what everyone wants next.
that's a good fight for Makhachev as well, because typically in RDA's career, he has been out grappled. Excuse me. He's been out grappled by Khabib, Leon Edwards, Colby, Usman. So typically there is a blue out there to beat RDA, and Makhachev's game fits perfectly into that blueprint. So that is probably up there with one of the most likely ones to happen as well.
I think as well, how I see it is there's a lot of, I think, deserved hype behind Islam. And I think that it's sort of in this balance at the moment. From a lot of people are going to say that he doesn't deserve or shouldn't get a sort of top 5, top 6. Well, I guess RDA sort of falls within that bracket, there or thereabouts. Shouldn't be there or thereabouts in the title contention as of yet. So I think RDA is quite a nice sort of step,
Transition.
if you like, transition to get into that. So I think if he takes the win there, then I think it sort of shuts a lot of people up, and it's like, right, if this guy fights to the title, then we can sort of get behind that then. But I think, I was just going to say, but then, like you said, that opens it up for Chandler, which I honestly just, I can only see that going one way. But it's hard to count Chandler out because you're only as good as your last fight, and his last fight was perfection.
Pretty impressive.
Really.
Pretty impressive.
Couldn't do much better than what he did. He landed one shot to one of 100%
the most knockout ratios.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of the most durable guys in that division as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
In Dan Hooker. So it was an
clean shot.
And your first fight in the UFC, arguably, maybe more. No, not arguably. There is even more pressure as well coming over from
huge card that was on as well.
Yeah, it was a big card. Being such a dominant force in sort of Bellator and being of an age where you're not a sort of new prospect or a potential sort of one for the future. So coming in as a very established fighter to the biggest sort of organization in the world, having that hype train behind you, and then doing that to Dan Hooker, that's impressive. Like when all sort of factor it all in together, that is impressive.
I love things like this though. Just when there's so many options and you're like, how is this all going to play out? I think the beautiful thing about it is we're going to find out. Before we go, predictions on what you think will be next. So like what fight you think for Makhachev?
I'm going to say RDA. I think that's what's going to happen. If I could choose who I wanted the most, it was Tony, and then I sort of started thinking about the Tony Dariush matchup, which I want. So I'm going to say Chandler.
Yeah.
After he called him out.
So you're going to say Makhachev?
I'm going to say RDA is going to happen. Okay. But for me, that I want to happen next will be Chandler. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you as well. I forgot about RDA. He actually called RDA out as well. I think if they're smart, which they are, they've got good management, they'll take that fight. He'll probably be the favourite in that fight. And bigger things from there. But yeah, interesting to see how it all plays out. And we're going to find out.
Peace.